So I share this all with you, very basic science. I am not the smartest person in the room, even though I'm the only person in the room right now. I share this with you because I want you to know that your body isn't just like, I have energy, I don't have energy. There's a reason why you have energy or you don't have energy.
Welcome to the Hidden Summit podcast. My name is Kevin Valance and I will be your host. On this podcast, we're going to talk about fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, and everything in between. If you find anything valuable in this episode, the only thing I'm ever going to ask you to do is subscribe so you can keep coming back and elevate your life to become better every single day.
All right, gang, good morning. How are we doing? Happy Friday over here. But whenever you're listening to this, I'm glad that you're coming in to find out something about fitness, nutrition, or just some random shit that I want to talk about today. But today I did want to dive into the fitness and training side of things. Like I have been mentioning, we are starting a new cycle soon with S5, and I wanted to get into some topics that can help you think on how to fuel, recover, and then approach your training, right? It's no secret that how we eat and how we train go parallel, but they are two different topics and areas that we need to focus on in different ways to yield the results that you are going after. I recently put up a post on carbohydrates and I was like, what's your take on carbohydrates? Are they good or are they bad? And I just remember this one person saying that hands down, no questions asked, that carbohydrates are bad because they spike your glycemic levels. Cool, fair, like you are saying something that is accurate. If we are using those carbohydrates and that spike in our glycemic levels, which will allow us to utilize this energy, because carbohydrate is the body's preferred source of energy for training or recovery, because it's not just about utilizing that energy before a workout, right? Which could be 30, 60, 90 minutes before. It could also be for recovery after a workout. So if insulin spikes in the body and your body is trying to shuttle protein, for instance, to the areas in the body that need to heal, be recovered, repair, that can be beneficial post-training as well. So why I say this is because if you understand not just the act of the consumption of the food, but what you can do physically in action thereafter, you can find benefit from something like a carbohydrate. Again, this goes down to the right portions at the right times and the right types of food, which we can talk on more one-on-one. What I would say is take this intake survey here and let's set up a call and discuss where you're at, where you want to be. Because when you do start to look at the proper nutrient timing and the right nutrient intake amount and type of food, you can see the benefits happen from your training rather quickly. So I drew this chart on the board. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I'll try and zoom in. If you can't, I'll do my best. If I can, I'll do my best to explain it. You don't just have one type of energy in the body. There are several ways your body pulls energy, and it's really dependent on a couple of different things. So effort and duration of training are what I want to focus on right now, because really it'll help you understand that when you are doing a specific type of training, for instance, powerlifting versus running, right? Your body's not going to pull the same energy for those same type of lifts. Are we utilizing all of them in one way or another? Absolutely. But it will benefit you to understand that if you're going in for a 1 rep max day, you might eat a little bit differently than if you're going for a. It's really important to understand going into any type of fitness. Carbohydrates in general are our body's primary source of energy. Common types of carbohydrates are going to be bread, rice, pasta, fruit, veggies, potatoes. And what happens when we utilize carbohydrates is that they break down to glucose or fructose, sugar in the body, and that is used. Glycogen is broken down to be used as energy in the body. So the first energy system I want to talk about is called the phosphate creatine or creatine phosphate energy system. This is when your body has this thing called ATP. But when you use ATP, you only have a certain amount to use, and it's broken down from 3 to 2 ADP diphosphate. So ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is used as energy and broken down afterwards to ADP, adenosine diphosphate. I don't want to get too sciencey on you here. And then once it's gone. So this first line right here, and I'll try and make it bigger and bolder, is 100. You're starting at 100% of energy, right? And then once you have a TP, you use it, you break it down, and literally this is gone within 10 seconds to at most 90 seconds, depending on how much ATP you have stacked in the body. Why? Because when we use this, it happens really quickly and it breaks down really fast. So think like a 40-yard dash or a 1 rep max snatch or other types of sprints or a single deadlift. You're pulling for a moment, you're using that ATP, and then it is gone, and then it will start to come back together, and then you'll have to recover. So it'll take longer, you'll rest longer between your sets when you're training this way to utilize that energy system over and over again. Using a supplement like creatine is going to help utilize that ATP at a faster rate, so you can have the ability to recover more quickly when you're training and keep that muscular, not endurance, but the power output that you have from that energy happen longer. So really, okay, you're not going to train for 90 seconds a day, so we have to move on and forward from this ATP, creatine phosphate energy system at some point. And this is where we go into where the dilemma is, right? Utilizing carbohydrates as energy. So you have this is CPT or PT energy system, and then this is G for glycemic energy system. So really, you're not using glycogen, carbohydrates, sugar as energy right away, but this right here, like once you get to the 10-second mark, and then anywhere, honestly, I put 3 minutes here, but studies have been shown that you can use your glycogen and your carbohydrates as energy for anywhere between 3 to 20 minutes. You can pull from that carbohydrate load, and that's truly dependent on the amount of carbohydrates that you consume. So what we want to do here is utilize those carbohydrates to keep energy throughout the course of our training, our day, cognitively during our training. Because if we do not have the appropriate amount of glycogen in the body, what's going to happen is we could possibly go into this phase called gluconeogenesis, which is where we're actually breaking down our muscles to pull from them to use as energy. And the last time I checked, none of you want to use your muscles and lose your muscles to provide for your workout. So this is where something like a carbohydrate oriented nutrient timing would benefit you, because you're going to be pulling from those carbohydrates for your training and then using them to recover thereafter. So this glycolytic energy system is what it's called, and I don't want you to get too hyped up on it. So we think ATP carbohydrates, and then we'll go into the next one. When we have training sessions that are an hour, right, and you're doing supersets on and off for an hour with limited rest in between, you're going to pull from carbohydrates during your training. Maybe less so than if you were going to do a 20-minute AMRAP that had some moderate lifts, some aerobic movements, and some gymnastics in it. Still, if you're working for longer than single reps or sprints with large areas of rest in between or portions of time between, that would mean that we are going to be pulling just scientifically from carbohydrates to use as energy for your training. And this is where I believe utilizing carbohydrates in your nutrition plan are going to be beneficial. A fructose or glucose. High glycemic carbohydrates, white rice, sourdough bread, sugar, sweets, candy, like those things, if you're going to go into a very high intensity training session, can prove to be beneficial, because you're not going to be able to store those carbohydrates afterwards because you're going to be using them for the training. Now, I train for an hour a day. I have a moderately intense workout a few times a week, and I will make sure that I am utilizing something like honey, so just natural, sweet, really good for me. I digest well, I utilize it well. Berries or sourdough bread, right? So that's where I'm at right now. There was a time where I would stack carbohydrates as in rice and supplements and things of that nature to have before my training, during my training, and after my training, because I was training for 2 to 3 hours at a very high level of intensity, and there was no way that this energy would last. It would diminish at some point along the way. So the third energy system that we want to talk about is oxygen. So it's our aerobic energy system, and we're really not going to utilize this until we get to the 3-minute mark, and then we can just use this forever. And with how we train oxygen is by, go back to this other call, which I'll link at the end of this video, and it talks about zone 2 training and developing our ability to utilize oxygen and keep our heart rate low over the course of a longer and longer period of time. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to go faster and faster in those training sessions. We're going to see some diminishing returns. So if this is effort now, or how we are able to perform, what's going to happen is, like, you're starting today, you're fully recovered, you're going to start at 100%, and let's say you get through the level of ATP, and then you get through the level of glucose, and then you get to oxygen. So we want to be able to balance this out so we can maintain that, and that's through a training regimen and a period over time. So think 20 minutes plus for that, right? So if you're going to go for a long run or a 5K, you will go through using ATP in the beginning a little bit. It'll just break down slowly. You'll use your carbohydrates at some place in the middle if you're going up zone 3, zone 4, and you're running faster, right? But primarily you're breathing in oxygen to circulate that through your body to fuel your muscles for a longer period of time. When it comes to training like that, like leaning on foods such as fats could be beneficial, because if you know that you're going to be going for longer distances and doing movements such as endurance movements or endurance workouts, what we want to do is, if we fuel our body through fat and have that energy break down slowly over time, knowing that we're not going to have to pull from this high intensity glycolytic energy system, we can utilize oxygen, and the fats can burn low and slow, and we can have a subset of energy happening at the same time. So I share this all with you, very basic science. I am not the smartest person in the room, even though I'm the only person in the room right now. I share this with you because I want you to know that your body isn't just like, I have energy, I don't have energy. There's a reason why you have energy or you don't have energy, and primarily it can happen from the food that you eat, whether it be carbs or fats, and then supplementing with something like creatine, 5 milligrams a day. I use First Form's creatine monohydrate, have been for a long time. I know I can go in and I can put my workouts and train the way I need to, utilizing all 3 energy systems, because I train them each and every single week with S5. That's why we have a balance in training using the CPT energy system, the glycolytic energy system, and the aerobic energy system, because we know that to be optimal in our performance, we want to train balanced in all of these different areas. If you're interested in joining us and seeing what this programming is all about, or if you just want to have a conversation, like I said, I have some links below so we can have a conversation, so you can learn more about this, and so you can try our programming with us. You get a free month when you use the code FREEMONTH in the link below. So with that in mind, a little bit nerdy today, but at the end of the day, I know that you may be somewhere deep down inside, if you're not performing the way you want to perform, you're going to use something like this to help yourself out. So enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Friday. If it is Friday, or whatever day it is, just go out there and make it the best day of the week. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk with you later. Thanks.